Everyone was surprised when news broke out that Michael Jordan had sold his majority shares in the Charlotte Hornets for $3 billion to a group led by Gabe Plotkin and Rick Schnall. Nobody expected it because Jordan has only been a majority NBA owner for a little over a decade, so nobody really saw this one coming.
So let's get it. Hornets owner Michael Jordan is engaged in serious talks to sell a majority stake in the franchise, sources told ESPN on Thursday. Selling a majority share of the Hornets would mark the end of Jordan's 13-year run as owner. He paid $275 million for a majority stake in the franchise. That was in 2010.
But he did sell, and it was finalized last August 3rd, 2023. With that, let's take a look back at Michael Jordan's history as an executive and owner. Michael Jordan bought a significant stake in the expansion franchise Charlotte Bobcats in 2006, making him the second biggest shareholder on the team, next only to majority owner Robert "Bob" Johnson. The deal also gave Michael the title managing member of basketball operations, putting him in charge of roster building of the Bobcats. This came on the heels of his firing as president of basketball operations of the Washington Wizards in 2003. After coming out of retirement and playing for 2 years to make the Wizards relevant and the talk of the country and the world, former owner Abe Pollin reneged on his promise of giving back Jordan the title of president after his last playing day as a Wizard, leading to a tumultuous ending of their partnership. Although Michael already had a grade of F as the former executive of the Wizards, primarily because of choosing Kwame Brown as the number 1 overall pick of the 2001 draft over the likes of Pau Gasol, Tony Parker, and Gilbert Arenas, Johnson still entrusted him to make the final decision regarding player personnel and basketball operations of the Charlotte Bobcats. His first major move after becoming the guy with the last say on basketball operations of the Bobcats was drafting Adam Morrison over Rajon Rondo, Kyle Lowry, Brandon Roy, Rudy Gay, J.J. Redick, Paul Millsap, and P.J. Tucker. His first coach hire was the inexperienced Sam Vincent, and he was rarely seen at games or even at practices. But along with those misses come also the hits. He fired Vincent after 1 year and hired Hall of Famer Larry Brown. He also made some trades that landed the team Steven Jackson, teaming him up with franchise stalwart Gerald Wallace, who the team got in the 2004 expansion draft. Jackson's and Wallace's Bobcats were a very competitive team. In fact, in the 2009 to 2010 season, the team made their first ever appearance in the postseason, winning 44 games, and was good enough to finish 7th in the Eastern Conference. They were eventually swept by number 2 seed Orlando Magic in round 1. The Bobcats' first ever foray into the playoffs coincided with Jordan buying out majority owner Johnson from the team for $250 million. The deal was swiftly approved by the NBA Board of Governors, making MJ the second black majority owner of a sports franchise after Johnson. In the 2014 season, the Bobcats officially rebranded back to being the Charlotte Hornets after the name became available in the wake of former Hornets owner George Shinn selling the team to the late New Orleans Saints owner Tom Benson, and Benson renaming the team the New Orleans Pelicans. In the 17 years that Jordan was executive and owner of the franchise, the team only managed to make the playoffs 3 times, and they never got past the opening round during those times. They've been in the lottery for so many years, but the amount of misses in the draft and the lack of enthusiasm in superstar free agent signings led the Hornets to its current state. With the number 8 pick of the 2007 NBA draft, they picked Brandon Wright when Joakim Noah and Marc Gasol were still on the board. They picked DJ Augustine when Brook Lopez, JaVale McGee, Serge Ibaka, and Goran Dragic were still available in the 2008 draft. They picked Gerald Henderson over the likes of Drew Holiday, Jeff Teague, Danny Green, and Patty Mills in the 2009 draft. They picked Kemba Walker, although a good pick, over future Hall of Famers Klay Thompson, Kawhi Leonard, and Jimmy Butler in the 2011 draft. They picked Michael Kidd-Gilchrist in the 2012 draft over Bradley Beal, Andre Drummond, and Damian Lillard in the first round. They picked Jeffrey Taylor over Draymond Green and Chris Middleton in the second round of the 2012 draft. They picked Cody Zeller over C.J. McCollum, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Steven Adams, Rudy Gobert, and Giannis Antetokounmpo in the 2013 draft. They picked Noah Vonleh in the 2014 draft over Zach LaVine, T.J. Warren, Clint Capella, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jeremy Grant, Jordan Clarkson, and Nikola Jokic. They picked Frank Kaminsky over Devin Booker, Miles Turner, Trey Lyles, Cameron Payne, Kelly Oubre, Terry Rozier, Tyus Jones, and Bobby Portis in the 2015 draft. They traded the number 22 pick in the 2016 draft, Malachi Richardson, when Pascal Siakam, DeJounte Murray, Ivica Zubac, and Malcolm Brogdon were still available. They picked Malik Monk, although a good pick, over Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen, Kyle Kuzma, and Bam Adebayo in the 2017 draft. They picked P.J. Washington over Tyler Hero in the 2019 draft. Many in the sports world and on social media criticized Jordan for his inability to build a winning team despite being at the helm of two franchises for more than a decade.
He owned a team for 15 years. They won 3 playoff games, 0 series. Jordan's ownership tenure of the Hornets is much like his playing career pre-Pippen.
Still hold a minority stake. I think that everybody associated with the NBA has to pay an incredible debt of gratitude to him for what he's meant to the game. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Michael Jordan are vastly responsible, primarily responsible for where the NBA is today, and we all should pay homage to him because of that. However, in recent memory, particularly since he's taken over ownership, I think they've only reached the postseason twice. They're in the midst of a 6-year drought from the postseason. And here's my thing about Michael Jordan that I want everybody to understand. He is such a superstar, such an iconic figure throughout the years. I don't think he's ever had the freedom of just being an owner and hiring folks just to make basketball decisions. Because he is who he is, trust matters so much that getting the right person in there is second to having people you can trust. And that's always been a very, very difficult proposition for him, which is what I think gets in the way sometimes of having better people within the organization. He's got some good people within the organization, but he's had some challenges, obviously. And I think that that's played a significant role in some of the struggles. So I like the idea of another owner coming in and taking a majority stake, where Michael Jordan can still have a minority stake in the franchise, still profit from it, but at the same time, leave that stuff to some other folks. That's just my personal opinion.
In fact, this was the primary reason why Jordan and outspoken NBA on TNT host Charles Barkley were no longer on speaking terms, even though the two had been the best of friends for so many years. Barkley criticized Jordan's management style in front of a national audience, and Jordan took offense at it.
It's in, Matt. He was my best friend at the time, and I love the guy and I miss the guy. But, I got to do my job. What I said about Michael, I said, I don't know if he's ever going to be successful because of the people around him. I think he hires too many of his friends. And because your friends don't ever tell you no. He went ballistic. And he called me, and that's the last thing I heard was, supposed to be my boy and blah, blah. And I said, man, I got to do my job.
It would be unfair for any team to be expected to pick the right players every time in every draft. It is impossible. But had the Hornets only managed to make it right 1, 2, or 3 times in the years that they were in the lottery, things could have been different by now. 1 or 2 right moves in those lottery years could have propelled the franchise to new heights if it was only done competently. Couple this with the seeming lack of enthusiasm by the Hornets front office to pursue superstar free agents every offseason, and it makes for the perfect recipe for disaster. The only notable free agents that the Hornets have managed to sign during Jordan's time were Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier. The two were good players, but weren't enough to change the direction and fortunes of a franchise. If you want or can attract big-name free agents, you must be top-notch in selecting young players in the draft to play for your team. If you have no patience developing young players and want to contend instantly, you must be top-notch in recruiting whales every year. But in the case of the Hornets, they are neither. Hence, the state of the franchise. This is probably the main reason why Michael finally let go of the Hornets. Because let's face it, Michael Jordan is never used to losing. He always found a way to win on the court regardless of the insurmountable odds and pressure. But being a team owner is entirely different. He has no control over what happens to his basketball team on the court. He can only watch helplessly as his team piles up losing record year after year. Jordan, being the greatest player that ever lived, doesn't automatically make him the greatest GM and owner too. Even after being retired as a player for more than 2 decades, his off-the-court endeavors are still winning more than the Hornets. His Jordan brand is as big and as relevant as ever. He has a successful NASCAR team named 23XI. He has a tequila company called Sincoro Tequila, to which he is a partner with fellow owners Jeannie Buss, Wes Edens, and Wick Grosbeck. He has a small stake in the MLB team, Miami Marlins, an ultra-private, ultra-exclusive golf course named the Grove 23, and owns several restaurants, among other ventures. When it comes to commercial appeal, MJ has the highest Q score among other active and retired legends, with a Q score of 26 and 77% familiarity among the masses. His enduring appeal has also resulted in Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, in partnership with Amazon Studios, producing the critically acclaimed film Air. It stars Affleck, Damon, Jason Bateman, Chris Tucker, and Viola Davis as Dolores Jordan. The film is about the epic story of how Nike recruited its biggest star, which changed the fate of the company forever. You can say that the only blemish on his illustrious record is him being the Charlotte Hornets owner. And it can take a toll on an ultimate winner like Michael. And it probably did. Sports franchise ownership is usually held on and passed on from generation to generation. It always has been a part of a wealthy family's legacy. But in Michael's case, his brand is way bigger than the Hornets. He can afford to not have it in his legendary portfolio. That's why after 13 years of consistent losing, Jordan finally gave up on the Charlotte Hornets. And it will forever feel strange when we hear the words "gave up" and Michael Jordan in the same sentence, as he's never done that his entire life. Just now,